Good day. We are Group 8 and we are assigned to report the Lumion software exterior specialization to be presented by me, Miss Aguilar, together with my groupmates Miss Dagatay, Mr. Manzanillo, and Miss Montalvo. So what is Lumion? Lumion is a visualization software designed for creating realistic and immersive renderings, providing solutions for architects, landscapers, urban planners, and interior designers. It allows users to showcase and communicate projects by transforming their models into captivating and lifelike images and videos. Lumion is developed by Act 3D BV, a privately owned Dutch company, and is available in 180 countries worldwide. Now, let's move on to the primary use and advantages of Lumion. The primary use of Lumion in architecture is producing high quality renderings, animation, and immersive walkthroughs for projects. Why do architects choose Lumion? Architects favor Lumion for three main reasons: its user friendly interface, real time rendering capabilities, and its vast built in library of materials, objects, and environmental effects. A key advantage that makes it stand out from alternatives is its speed and ease of use, allowing users to produce photorealistic results without requiring advanced technical skills. To run Lumion effectively, even at minimum specification, you need modern hardware. The minimum operating system required is an up-to-date Windows 10 64-bit version 2004 or newer. Crucially, the PC must always be connected to the internet. For performance, the minimum calls for a graphics card ray tracing capable integrated GPU such as Intel Arc or Radeon 760M, and a newer version with a passmark score of 5500 or higher. Examples are Intel Core Ultra 5 135H or Ryzen 7640U. A 16 GB of RAM, a CPU either Intel or AMD scoring a single-thread CPU mark of 2500 or higher, and a hard drive free disk space of 300 MB. For the recommended specification, it is just the same as the minimum specification required for internet connection, operation system, system memory or RAM, and hard drive space, but requires a higher calling for a dedicated GPU with a passmark score of 10,000 or higher, like an RTX 2060, and a CPU with a single-thread CPU mark of 2600 or higher to handle complex scenes more efficiently. The Lumion workflow follows a clear 9-step process starting outside of the program. It begins with model preparation in CAD, followed by import or live sync to Lumion. Steps 3 through 5 involve building environment, build scene context, apply materials and textures, and populate the scenes with objects. The final stages are about refinement and output. Adjust lightings and atmosphere, set camera views and apply effects, render final output, and the optional, which is post processing.
So good day everyone. Now for this workflow tips and best practices, I will be presenting you the workflow settings that our team used to prepare, modify, and enhance the exterior environment of the model. Now after that, importing your model, you can finally set up your scene. For this one, we have different settings to adjust terrain, apply basic materials, set up initial lightings, add context elements, and save scene file. For this one, you can actually adjust your terrain based on your preferences and also to match the site's contour. And this will actually help you to ground the structure naturally. Then you can also tweak your setting in terms of the basic material applications because this step will provide you an initial realism of surfaces, such as, for example, if you used a concrete texture on your model, you can adjust it there, or can also be a soil or the vegetation. The next thing is to set up your initial lighting. For this one, you can adjust the default sun orientation and to set the tone of the scene. And then next is the context elements. This is where you can add the vegetation, the vehicles, and the surrounding, just to reflect the real world environment of the project. And lastly, you can save the scene file. This will ensure that all the base settings are consistent throughout the rendering process. So as for the lighting setting, here we can see that the lighting would achieve a realistic exterior ambience. So once you open the settings, you can see here the photo mode, and you can adjust your own preset. So as for this one, you can see that there are different kinds of presets that you can tweak, such as the sun height, the sun the sun heading, sun brightness, and the sun disk size, where those are the presets that you can adjust. The real sky setting. For this one, our team used the real sky setting, which you can tweak the setting in terms of the sun brightness and also the cloud amount. So our team adjusted several properties such as colorization, the gloss, reflectivity, relief, and the map scale. Preset is the reflectivity. So this would determine how much light bounces off the material. Now, as for the rendering quality setting, you can see here on the PowerPoint that we have showed different kinds of quality. So if you opted for the email, so this is how you can see your picture would appear or the model would appear. Then we also have the poster. And these are actually adjustable in the render window. Now we have the optimization settings for Lumion. These settings are designed to improve performance and speed up the rendering process in Lumion. They are actually broken down into three key areas, such as the scene optimization, rendering optimization, and the system and file management. So you can see here under the scene optimization, we have the use layer, simplify vegetation, use proxy, hide and scene geometry, and then save incremental versions. For the use layers, you can organize your scene elements like the furniture, the terrain, or the lighting onto different layers, and it will actually allow you to toggle off the layers you don't need for a specific view or test render. It will actually significantly reduce the geometry the software has to process. The next is to simplify vegetation. Detailed 3D vegetation, trees, bushes, grass, is often the most resource intensive element. So you can actually use simpler models for this one. Now, for the use proxy setting, a proxy object is a simple low poly placeholder that stands in for a complex, high poly models like a detailed car or statue in the viewport. This keeps the editor running smoothly, but the full detail model is restored only at a render time. Now, the next setting is hide unseen geometry. Before importing your model into Lumion, you can delete or hide any geometry that will be hidden by walls, floors, or terrain in your final view. Lumion won't have to load or calculate these unnecessary polygons. Then lastly, under the scene optimization, instead of overwriting your main file, you can save frequent separate versions of your file. This is actually a safety measure in order to prevent a single corrupted save file from ruining hours of work. Now next is the rendering optimization settings. You can test first in draft mode. Before you can commit to a final high quality render, you can actually run test renders in draft mode, or it will use a lower resolution for viewer samples. This would give you a quick feedback on lighting, composition, and materials, saving hours of wasted time on full quality renders. Now, rendering passes, this involves rendering elements separately, such as the final image, materials, reflections, lighting, and masks. You can then combine and adjust them in a photo editing program like Photoshop, giving you more control and often allowing for faster iterative adjustments. Now, reduce reflection planes. Reflection planes are used for accurate mirror reflections on flat surfaces like glass or water. This is actually very resource intensive, so use them sparingly only on the most critical visible surfaces. Now use limited effects because there are actually different effects in Lumion, like the hyperlight, global illumination, volumetric light, and etc. This would actually greatly enhance quality, but it will also increase the render time. So turn off unnecessary effects for test renders and use them judiciously for the final output. Then lastly, this is actually this will actually save you from taking so much time to render. You can close the other apps before hitting the final render button. So close all other memory intensive programs like the browsers, video editors, or other 3D software to dedicate all available system resources to Lumion. And lastly, you have the system and file management. You can purge unused materials or components in SketchUp because before you import your model, you use your CAD software and to clean out any materials, layers, or components that are no longer in the scene. This will actually keep your source file small and tidy. So use SSD storage. This will help you store your Lumion scene files and models on a solid state drive because it will speed up loading, saving, and the overall handling of large files compared to traditional hard disk drives. You can also use performance mode. This will ensure that your operating system's power plan is set to high performance or that your dedicated GPU is being utilized. This will ensure that your computer is running at full speed rather than throttling down to save power. Now, lastly, is avoid excess 3D warehouse objects. While convenient, models downloaded from online repositories like SketchUp's 3D warehouse can often be overly detailed, poorly built, or contain hidden geometry. So you can use high quality optimized assets whatever possible.
So hi everyone, my name is Brian Mazanillo and I'm your next presenter. So first I'm going to present the essential keyboard shortcuts in Lumion. So first we have WASD, which we all know, plus right click to move and look around inside the Lumion. And also we have G to snap on and off. Also shift to move faster while using WASD while moving around inside the Lumion. And also Control S to save. And our favorite, which is the Control Z to undo. And also we have O to orbit objects, and lastly is Alt plus drag to duplicate objects. Moving on, I'm going to present the hidden features most beginners don't know. So the first one, we have fine-tune camera movement. So by holding Shift plus spacebar when moving, so it makes your camera movement extra slow and cinematic, perfect for final shots and walkthrough. So the next one is the accurate object placement on surface. So by pressing F when your object is floating, it snaps object directly to the ground or surface, avoid floating furnitures and misplaced objects. So the third one is instantly copy all objects properties. So by pressing Ctrl plus C on an object and then Ctrl V on another object, so it copies materials, size, rotation, and position, super useful for lights and furnitures. And lastly, we have record camera paths automatically. In movie mode, press auto keyframe, move camera. So the Lumion records the path, you don't need to manually add keyframes every time. So next one, I'm going to present the plugins recommendation, some of the plugins. So if you have model in SketchUp, Revit, or AutoCAD, use the corresponding Live Sync plugin. So for real-time updates while using those kind of applications. The next one we have, if you want more realistic materials and environment assets, consider getting a third-party pack like Full Pack or 3D Fernandez. Lastly, use Lumion View if you want to render previews directly from your CAD program without going back and forth. Now we're going to discuss about the common problems and solutions while using Lumion. So here are the common problems. We have lagging or slow performance. It is because Lumion becomes slow when scenes is heavy. So one of the solution of that is to use low poly assets, disable shadow during editing, use proxies, and reduce reflection planes. So the next one is crashing due to heavy scenes. So it is because too many trees, lights, and high-res textures cause Lumion to crash. So by using layers, reduce texture size 2 to 4K, break scene into parts, and use incremental saves. The third problem is materials not transferring correctly. So it is because imported model shows wrong or repeated material. So for the solution, we have to name materials uniquely in CAD, avoid difficult SketchUp colors, and re-import with keep material assignments. So the next one is shaky or fast camera animations. It is because camera moves looks unnatural. So by adding is in and out, so keep camera to eye level, 1.6 to 1.8 meters, and use paths animations, avoid sharp angles. So next we have fake looking renders. So it is because materials look plastic or cartoonish. So by using FBR materials, adjust roughness and add dirt imperfections, so use realistic interage. So the next one is shadow problems. So shadow looks harsh, inaccurate, or unrealistic. So by adjusting sun height, use fine detail shadows, add soft shadows, and use multiple light source. So lastly is long render times. So renders take too long to finish. So test renders at low resolution, reduce effects during preview, export 1080, first optimize scene assets. So that's are the common problems and solution in using Lumion. So for the last part of my presentation, I'm going to discuss the learning resources in Lumion. We have here for the category official tutorials and documentation. So I recommend Lumion official tutorials in YouTube, Lumion knowledge base, and Lumion vlogs. Also YouTube channels like Show It Better, Crits Craig, and RQ visualization. So all of the sources are very helpful, especially for beginners because it provides tips, it shows the workflow, and can enhance the learning foundation while using Lumion. So that's all for my presentation.
poster for high quality output, or email if I want something faster. Poster equals better quality, and email means quicker rendering.